Do you want to be a software engineer, a web developer, or a coder? In this series, I'll be coaching my friend Tim, taking him from his current skill set as a designer to being a full-stack web developer. Along the way, I'll be teaching him all the key skills he needs to work in a modern development team, including using version control, task management software, and code reviews. These videos will be highlights from our coaching sessions and explanations of those key skills, so that you can learn along with Tim. You don't need a degree or even any experience with JavaScript to follow along, just enthusiasm. Over the course of the coaching, Tim is going to create a full-stack JavaScript web application. We're using JavaScript as he has never used TypeScript, and he's already going to be learning so many new things as part of this process, so I don't want to overload him. If you don't know JavaScript or you want to learn other languages, don't worry, this series will still be useful for you too. I'll be primarily focusing on the overall process and how to make the front end and the back end work together to form a full stack application. Tim will be making a recipe sharing application. Here's the project description I gave him. Here is the stack, the different technologies that Tim will be using to build this application. For this first week, we had a fairly long session lasting a little over 1.5 hours. I wanted to get Tim set up and comfortable with the way we're going to be running the project, and to enable him to work on it in his own time. Here's what we covered. This video will cover setting up a Git repository for the project on GitHub and cloning it to Tim's machine. Okay, so first things first, we are going to create a brand new GitHub repository. And it's going to be public, but you need to come up with a name for it. So this is a recipe sharing application. What would you call it? That is so imaginative.
That's how creative. Yeah, that's how creative I am today.
Perfect. Let's go with it then. So create a new public repository. Okay. So next thing you're going to do is just to make sure that you've actually got it onto your computer. You've already installed GitHub Desktop, right?
Yep.
In that blue bar that's currently on your screen, you can click Setup in Desktop and open it up. And what that's going to do is just ask you where on your system you want the code for this to live. So it's suggesting a folder in your Documents folder. Oh,
doesn't really matter. Wait, stream is gone?
Yep. No, there we go. It's come back. So it's going to make a folder called GitHub and just stick it in a recipe app folder in there by default. Change it if you don't want it there. Otherwise, click clone.
Yeah, it's all right.
So cloning a Git repo is effectively like just taking a copy of it.
Okay.
Are you aware of the difference between GitHub and Git?
No, that was the first thing I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Because whenever you search up Git, you have to run it in your terminal. Oh wow.
Yes. So GitHub is a service where they host Git repositories and they give you a load of tools that you can basically use with Git.
Okay.
Git itself is a command line tool that is used for version control.
Okay, makes sense.
So GitHub isn't the only service. There's quite a few others. My personal favorite is Bitbucket, which is made by the same people that make Jira. So the two have some really nice integrations. There's loads of different options out there. But GitHub is the one that everyone tends to use for open source projects and for really anything where you want to make a personal portfolio. So whenever you interview for software engineer jobs, one of the things they tend to ask for is, what's your GitHub username? Because they want to go off and see code you've actually written.
That makes sense.
So at the moment, you've now got your GitHub repo or repository cloned onto your machine. Yep. There's no files in it. You've basically just got an empty folder.
Okay.
So if you hop back onto the website, you'll see in that blue bar, it says get started by creating a new file or uploading an existing file. We recommend every repository include a README, license, and .git ignore. So click on the word README.
It makes it himself or what?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a markdown file. Have you used markdown before?
No.
Click on preview.
Where do I see that?
It's just next to edit new file.
Oh my god.
So whenever you use a chat app like Discord, a lot of the formatting that you use is actually something called markdown, which is just a really basic formatting language used on the web. So it's how we make any README files. So if you click on edit again, you'll see that that header is just a hash. If you add a blank line underneath it and then a new line, and then just write a one-line explanation of what this project is. Perfect. Add one blank line to the end, just because that's a good habit to start getting you into. If you click preview, you'll see that you've now got your heading and one paragraph's worth of text.
So why the good habit of adding a blank line?
We'll come to that later on. It's just a good thing to do.
Okay, sure.
And there we go. So one of the things that we have in Git is commits. Every time you make any kind of change, you are committing those changes to the repository. And there are two things that you do with every commit. You add or edit or remove files. And then you provide a commit message. Now in that box at the bottom of your screen that says commit new file, they have a suggested message already, create readme.md. I think that's a fine one for us to use for now. So click commit new file.
The MD stands for markdown, I guess?
Correct.
Okay.
And there you go. You have your first file. So if you go back into GitHub Desktop, at the top of your screen, you can see that it has three different little squares. The first one is for choosing a repository. So you can have multiple different repositories. You might be working on different projects. The next one says current branch main. If you click on that, right click on origin main.
Oh, wow.
And now it's giving you the option. No, don't worry, you did fine. See how it says fetch origin on the right hand side?
Yeah.
Click that. So it's going to now go off and fetch the origin, which is your remote repository, and it's going to find out that you've got a new commit. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up your repository in Visual Studio Code. So if you open up VS Code,
where's my bar coming up? Oh yeah, you just
then go to File, open folder, recipe app.
There you go. I mean, it's my own, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I do not trust myself.
So over on the left-hand side, you've got your readme.md.
So
it's pulled it down
the icon in front is because it's a markdown, or?
No. Well, yes. It's VS Code likes to put icons to make the experience prettier, so it recognizes that it's a README file. Depending on what
Okay.
themes and extensions you have, you can change that behavior. I haven't used the default for a very long time, so I can't remember whether the I means Markdown or README. But Visual Studio Code is clever enough to know the difference.
Okay.
So, you've now got a remote repository. You've also got software on your machine that you can use for accessing that, and you've got it in your code editor, your IDE. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back onto github.com and we're going to add in all of the tasks that need to be done for this project.